Thank you and welcome to today's presentation. For today's installment in our Sustainability 360 webcast series, we will be visiting a case study from Seven Hills Master Association in Henderson, Nevada, and discussing how a three-way partnership there has resulted in over 45 million gallons of water savings in just 18 months. Today's webcast can also be followed on Twitter at #watermanagement. Attendees should see this in the chat section of the presentation. I'd like to introduce you now to today's presenters. Dr. Joel Davidson. Dr. Joel Davidson is a retired medical doctor, surgeon, and resident of the Seven Hills community in Henderson, Nevada. He's worked with fellow board members and the Master Association there for the past 5 years. Dr. Davidson is passionate about community landscapes and their impact on the community at large. He'll also be joined today by Richard Restuccia. Richard is Director of Water Management Solutions for ValleyCrest Landscape Companies. In his role, Richard educates municipal, commercial, industrial, large residential type customers about the advantages of proper water management. Richard consults with public agencies across the country on their design and implementation of irrigation efficiency as well as water conservation programs. In his own backyard, Richard serves on the San Diego Water Conservation Action Committee. Richard has been active in the green industry for over 14 years. He is a frequent presenter at industry forums, including the Irrigation Association and Water Smart Innovations national conferences. Richard has also authored many articles for several publications, including Landscape Management and the Community Association International's Common Ground magazine. In just a moment, I'll turn things over to the presenters, but first I thought I'd introduce some macro trends that will shed some light on why water management at communities across the U.S. is getting so much attention. I thought it would be interesting first to take a look at a few facts that help explain why water management has been and continues to be such a hot topic. In the U.S. today, over 62 million people live in planned associations. 2/3 of those are in areas that were classified as experiencing some form of drought condition in the past 12 months, and 70% are in areas that experienced increased water rates in the past 18 months. Of those, roughly half or more of these communities can also list water as one of their top 3 annual expenses. Furthermore, both management companies and association boards continue to experience increased demand to not only retain, but to increase property values for their residents. Community landscape aesthetic is and will continue to be a key role player in the property values for those residents. What does all this mean together? Well, if water is not already a hot topic and topic of discussion for communities, it soon will be, or certainly should be. Circle of Blue is a nonprofit affiliate of the internationally recognized water policy think tank Pacific Institute. Each year, they publish a water trends survey report showing relative water rates increases, mostly at mid and major city level. The report shows that water rates across the U.S. have been on a steady rise now for 4+ years, with average annual increases of 7.5% year over year, with some major markets seeing as much as a double-digit increase in the same year-over-year time periods. As we are learning, these rate increases are not only tied to water scarcity, which may be caused by drought or population growth, but also to energy costs and increased energy costs required to pump water to the end user. And lastly, the mounting capital improvement costs to replace aging systems across the U.S. The average age of the rural water delivery system in the U.S. is nearly 60 years old, with a large portion of those going in just after World War II. So as municipal systems in the U.S. now are at the point of critical repair, obviously increased rates are one way that those are going to be funded. It's evident from these trends that water management is and will continue to be a hot topic. It's here to stay, and management companies, association boards, landscape professionals must all sit down in a collaborative fashion and discuss the proven real-world solutions that can be easily implemented today to immediately start to help manage the rising costs without sacrificing the property values. I would like to hand this over to Dr. Davidson now to share his experience at Seven Hills and tell us a little bit about how he was able to proactively work to address water management challenges for his community. Dr. Davidson.
Good morning. With 3,000 homes in our community and 87 acres of landscape, people decide to live in Seven Hills because it really is a lush green oasis in the middle of the desert. The Seven Hills Master Association includes 7 miles of walking trails, 3 city parks, and there is also an 18-hole golf course in the community. Many of you have heard of the Butch Harmon School of Golf. That's here along with the annual Rio Seco Wendy's Free Tour Challenge and other community events that draw visitors from all over the world, some who later decide to make Seven Hills their home. Careful selection of plant materials offers residents a year-round array of color in our common areas. Turf and trees are meticulously maintained. In fact, our CC&Rs even state that there can be no palm trees used in the landscape. Greenery is a vital and integral part of our community. As we work with Clark County and the City of Henderson Water District to ensure the community is inviting and enjoyed by residents and the general public, water waste and water bills are important considerations for the Board of Directors and each of our 23 sub-associations. Water is a top operating cost for any community, and Seven Hills is no exception, especially here in this desert climate. The board of the Master Association wanted to be proactive in our water conservation and water stewardship. We were not only interested in conservation, but also possibly lowering expenses and certainly avoiding increased assessments. We knew we had to take a close look at irrigation. A prior project before me and before ValleyCrest was to convert massive areas of turf to xeriscape in an effort to accomplish savings. What we learned was that the water bills actually increased as the desert plantings were too densely spaced. It was not easy, to say the least, to convince my fellow board members to accept this project. Agreement was reached by first doing a test study, choosing only a few valves. Proof came quite quickly. Property management also got an education here. I would like to keep in mind one very important fact as we move forward with this discussion. Our annual average rainfall here rarely exceeds 4 inches per year, and we have not even gotten to the 4 in at least the last 4 years. We have been in quite a drought, so the results of this project are even more impressive when one considers these additional factors. Wind is a considerable factor for us. You can apply water based on plant requirements, but the wind will carry it away before the plants are able to use it. With large areas of turf, and also a lot of hardscape and sidewalks, asphalt trails, paved streets, entrances, and across our community's recreation areas, overwatering and runoff were costly concerns. We have to address erosion and repairs year-round. More efficient irrigation systems would prove to lower those costs also. We have very hard water, and the concrete especially is quickly etched and stained by the overspray. The board constantly compares the soft costs of immediate improvements with the longer-term financial benefits. Arid landscape and xeriscape doesn't necessarily save water, as I've already said, and it certainly doesn't create community curb appeal or enhance property values. Seven Hills was using a mix of many different brands of irrigation clocks or timers across the common areas. This consumed a large portion of our maintenance budget and hours, as the old, outdated equipment required ground crews to make multiple visits to each timer for manual changes and adjustments. Seven Hills has worked these past 5 years with ValleyCrest Landscape Maintenance. Our account manager recommended smart irrigation controllers as a solution that would save time, money, and most importantly, eliminate water waste. The board approved a pilot test with 3 WeatherTRAK controllers on an area with turf, xeriscape, and color. We saw water savings trends in less than 6 months. The WeatherTRAK controller has a proven record of saving water and is truly built for commercial use. It uses local weather to include many factors beyond just water from the heavens, to calculate irrigation requirements, and rain is not the only parameter considered. The calculations are based on site-specific details. The system offers remote visibility and online central control, which create a tremendous time savings for the grounds crew. I'd like to invite Richard at ValleyCrest to tell you more about the pilot project. Richard?
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Davidson. We've been working with Seven Hills now for about 6 years, and we really feel fortunate to be partnered with such a great community. The Seven Hills community features loads of parks, walking paths, playgrounds, and green belts, giving each individual neighborhood a very expansive, nice feel. It's truly a beautiful place to live and work. The board definitely takes pride in their landscape and how that landscape positively contributes to homeowners and guests. In meeting with them early on, it was obvious to us that the board was keenly aware of the water situation in Las Vegas and wanted to be proactive about managing their water. The ValleyCrest Water Management Program was a large contributing factor as to why we were awarded the job, and the board has always been receptive to ideas of how to manage water more effectively. I think Simeon Bibiano and his team there for ValleyCrest locally in Henderson have done just an excellent job in working with Dr. Davidson and the board in putting together a great water management program for Seven Hills. Back in about 2009, we started to have significant confidence in the WeatherTRAK controllers from Hydropoint. We had successfully installed them in quite a few areas across the country, and we recommended to the board at Seven Hills that they try a test pilot of these controllers. We stressed the benefits of remote monitoring and daily adjustments of water based on actual weather conditions, and they were excited to give it a try. The initial trial was with just 2 controllers that we could isolate on 1 meter, so we felt that we could get accurate monitoring of water usage. We ran the test for 6 months. We used the spring into summer time period, and at the end of the trial period, we showed that we saved over 20% in water. Everyone was very optimistic about the savings, so we put together a return on investment calculation to see how long it would take to pay for the controllers with the dollars we would be saving as a result of the water reduction. Southern Nevada Water Authority was at that time and is also offering right now rebates for smart controllers. So we figured in the rebates into our calculation as well. The board was comfortable with our return on investment forecast of less than 24 months. So we moved forward with the project installing a total of 33 WeatherTRAK controllers. So on the next slide, you'll see that in the past, we've had, and when I say we, industry, the communities, have had a traditional approach to irrigation, and that's been the traditional timer. Some people refer to them as the dumb timers. Now, growing up as a kid in Phoenix, Arizona, where we had a valve in the corner of our yard, and we could look to a board at the end of the alley to see what night and what time we had to open up our valve to receive our flood irrigation, traditional timers were a great solution. It meant we no longer had to get up in the middle of the night and open valves to flood irrigate. But flood irrigation was, as you can imagine, very difficult to manage, and it's sometimes very wasteful in the flooding. So traditional timers seemed like a great solution at the time. Basically, a traditional timer turns on irrigation at a certain time of the day and on a certain day, leaves it on for a certain time period, and then shuts off. And if it does that and can do that accurately, then you've got a great timer. But one of the things traditional timers don't take into account are things like if it rains between times that you irrigate, how hot it might be, if you get a cold front moving in, if there's overcast skies, if the humidity is particularly high at any one time. And all these things affect how much water plants need and turf need. So traditional controllers at one time definitely served its purpose, but because a traditional controller is set to water at a specific time period of the year, And basically, very typically, we set traditional timers to water during the hottest time of the year, and we adjust off of that. We really do end up wasting water as a result of not being able to adjust these timers on a daily basis. And that's a real key point here that I want to make, is that most of the waste that comes from a traditional timer is because people can't make a daily adjustment to it. They can, but it's very time intensive. It's very costly. And so it's not that any contractors are doing a bad job wasting water with traditional timers. It's just they don't have the ability to adjust that timer on a daily basis. So if we look at our next slide, we see what smart irrigation has done, and it really has made the adjustment of the controllers on a daily basis very easy. With the WeatherTRAK controllers, a cellular signal is used to download weather information to these timers daily. So as you can see on this chart, we've got the first day there, 6 minutes of water being applied on Zone 1 and Zone 2. The next day, again, we have a complete clear sunny day. We might put 6 minutes down on Zone 1, and Zone 2 might be a turf zone, so it might get a little extra water. The next day, we're getting a little bit of rain, so we're not watering at all. And the next day after that, we're putting down 4 minutes on Zone 1 and no water on Zone 2. The key point being every day the weather and water requirements change, and fortunately, in using smart timers, the amount of water we put down adjusts accordingly as well. But it just doesn't stop there in the timing of how much water we put down. It also takes into account the WeatherTRAK controllers, what sprinkler types you have, what plant types, what is the sun exposure, all the things that you see here on this slide that do affect how much water a plant needs. And that's been a great advantage for us in using these smart controllers. So we've been working closely now with Hydropoint for several years, and I really appreciate many aspects of the WeatherTRAK controllers. The first thing I have to consider when making a recommendation for smart timers is that we're selling trust. Many times we recommend these smart controllers to a long-term customer who's very satisfied with ValleyCrest. We make a recommendation based on our analysis of their water use, and more importantly, the expectation of water savings. If we can't deliver on our forecasts, we have a chance to lose an entire account. And many times the controllers we sell are just a small fraction of the overall value of the maintenance account. And more importantly, our reputation's on the line. My experience with WeatherTRAK controllers has been successful 100% of the time. The automated Hydropoint WeatherTRAK scheduling engine delivers precise amounts of water based on specific landscape zones and environmental conditions. Schedules adjust as local weather changes, and this eliminates water waste as well as runoff. In addition, as I mentioned before on that previous slide, there's 19 other factors we program into the controller to make sure we're providing the proper amount of water. Too much water or too little water is not as healthy for plants. And this is always a real concern for people when I first start talking about smart controllers, because it's real tempting to think that if plants don't look good, they just need more water. So when people hear that we're going to cut back water, they start to assume that their landscape's going to look worse. But what they soon discover is that they can save water, and they can save money, and have a healthier landscape. The WeatherTRAK controllers also provide us the ability to make adjustments to individual valves, so we don't have to make a major expensive change to a system. These aren't set-it-and-forget-it solutions. And the reason why is not every irrigation system was designed perfectly, and even the ones that weren't necessarily installed perfectly. You have to go back and make some adjustments. And then finally, the flow sensing capabilities that the WeatherTRAK controllers offer really gives water managers the ability to detect leaks and automatically shut down a system when vandalism occurs. There's alerts to technicians, community managers that let you know there is a problem. In the past, when we rely on residents to tell us about problems, sometimes leaks or malfunctions in the systems or breaks can go on night after night for a couple nights until someone finally reports it. So the system allows us to detect that and do something about it immediately. So as Dr. Davidson mentioned, southern Nevada only receives about 4.5 inches of rain a year. Nevada, and Las Vegas in particular, figured out long ago the way we think about water has to change. What used to be plentiful and cheap is becoming scarce and expensive. The Southern Nevada Water Authority is held in high regard across the country for their proactive approach to water management. They have been water stewards in the best way possible. Over many years now, their approach to water management has really been a four-prong approach. They have seasonal adjust water schedules. So in the winter, they can only allow 1 day a week watering. In the spring and fall, they allow 3 day a week water. And in the summer, any day is okay. They've promoted turf conversions, offering $1.50 rebates per square foot of turf removed. And they've also offered rebates or incentives for homeowners and commercial properties to install smart controllers. They also are billing on a tiered rate to promote low water use. Once you hit the top tier there, and this varies a little bit, but once you hit that top tier, you're paying about $4.58 for 1,000 gallons. The Henderson City Council, where Seven Hills is located, last October approved an increase on water of about $3.2 million a year, each year for the next 4 years. The good news is that the actions they're taking are working. You know, when I think about the boom in Las Vegas, I really think about the years between 2002 and 2007 when the economy was really humming and Vegas was experiencing a huge boom. During that time, 2002 to 2007, Las Vegas added 400,000 new residents. And during the same time period, Las Vegas experienced a 15% reduction in water use. So I really applaud Seven Hills and the people of Las Vegas for taking such a proactive approach to water management there and seeing that reduction. So when we talk about scheduling and scheduling restrictions, we see this across the country from time to time, and Henderson and Las Vegas has not been any exception. And a restriction is simply identifying times it's okay to water and what times it's not okay to water. And as you can imagine, there's about an infinite number of possibilities and combinations. I've seen 4 day a week water, 1 day a week water, 2 day a month water, only allowing water between the times of 11 and 5 a.m. To use sprays, for example. So as a leader in the landscape industry, it's very important to ValleyCrest that we adhere to water restrictions. WeatherTRAK controllers allow us to easily manage water according to the restrictions. We're able to easily program in the restrictions, and the controller does the rest for us. What's most important to me about this is that the WeatherTRAK controllers apply water based on the water requirement of the plant, not a percentage adjustment of a base schedule. So in other words, if we're on a 3 day a week schedule, and during a couple of non-water days, a cold front, clouds, or even rain came into the area, the WeatherTRAK controllers are going to apply the appropriate amount of water to meet the plant water requirement. Not a predetermined amount already in a schedule, or in the worst case scenario, have a schedule that calls for 20 minutes of water every day, and because you miss 2 days of water, the controller puts down 3 days worth, or 60 minutes on a day the plants may not even require water. The WeatherTRAK controllers have been easy to use, adjusting to water restrictions. So as much as I'd like to say I can predict the future, I know that prediction's not really possible. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that people rise to the possibility of promise. Helping your team see a vision of a sustainable future at your community and encouraging them to participate to help guide the process is going to ensure a higher probability of success. I'm just amazed at the level of action and engagement that we're seeing every day in the area of sustainability. Last year, when we started the water blog, ValleyCrestTakesOn.com, there were just a few blogs about water. Today, we link to 9 other water blogs, and I know we're just touching the surface. I have over 600 followers on Twitter now at H2O Trends, and almost all of them are interested in water or sustainability. We do a landscape chat with Corona Tools every Wednesday on Twitter. This has been going on for a year, and the landscape chat is mainly focused on water or sustainable practices. We're touching 100,000 followers every week. Now, the reason I point these numbers out is to show that there's a global citizens movement happening today for sustainability and water management. It's happening right now with this webcast, and you're a part of it. There's a new wave of action and engagement, and we need to capture some of this for our organizations and our communities so we can move forward in a more profitable and positive manner. WeatherTRAK controllers have given us some really important tools to keep this momentum moving forward. Having the ability to view use on any device brings attention to water. Think about this for a moment. How much do you pay for water? If we want to see the price of oil or gas, it's easy. We just turn on the TV, or we can go to the internet, and within a few moments we can figure this out. And that's not really the case with water. The reporting features from WeatherTRAK provide the opportunity for you to review water use on a regular basis with your boards. You can simply print out a report for water use before every meeting and start discussing water in a meaningful way. You really need to be able to measure to manage, and for the most part, measurement of water with most community comes after the fact when they receive their bill. Real-time information makes active management possible. And it also brings added visibility to what communities are experiencing as their second highest expense item on their balance sheets. So when we talk about success metrics, I think that for communities today, really the only business strategy worth following is a sustainability strategy. And, there's a lot of definitions of sustainability out there today, but I think that the one I like to use is to meet the needs of the current generation without compromising the needs of future generations. But the question I always get when I say that is, how can I apply this to my community? And the answer is, in a business or community context, we have to ask ourselves, how can sustainability and water management serve the core challenges of our community? And I really think the answer comes in 4 parts. It has to be proactive in protecting the environment. It has to care about cultures. It has to have social responsibility. And it has to have economic sustainability. And so breaking it down for landscaping, the social and cultural aspects include first impressions of the community based on the landscape. It also reflects how homeowners feel about the property. The economic is considering the cost of maintaining the landscape while balancing many other costs like capital improvements and other scheduled maintenance costs. And finally, the environmental focuses on proper selection of plants and trees to minimize the amount of water, fertilizer, and labor required to maintain the landscape. I think that all 4 need to work together to form a sustainability initiative in your community. And a community who uses these 4 initiatives to drive their strategy is on their way to becoming sustainable. But we also have to keep in mind that this really doesn't have an endpoint. It doesn't really end there. We're looking to have 9 billion people on the planet by 2040. So this really is an endless horse race. We know more people are coming, and we're using more resources daily. So the real question is, How do you use sustainability to run your community more successfully? Well, I think smart controllers are a great first step. They reduce inputs like water and labor. They help you manage your expensive water actively, and you have the option of financing your controllers using the dollars saved on water to pay for the controllers. So, in summary of Seven Hills, we did our ROI, we did our test, we did our ROI calculation, and right off the bat, we achieved our projected payback in a very short period of time. Our ROI calculation was estimating about 24 months, and we actually paid this back in less than a year. We've saved 45 million gallons of water in 18 months between June 2010 and December of 2011. We've been able to return $153,000 back to the budget, and I think that everybody who has seen Seven Hills will agree that we have improved plant health. Dr. Davidson, did I miss anything there?
No, I don't think. I think you covered it pretty good. Certainly different seasons and, well, changes in temperature, changes in the environment affect the color of the grass, and so that needs help. And so, that doesn't change because of the smart controllers. If it does anything, it improves it and makes the brown areas less common and they're not as large. But they're going to happen no matter what. It's not a perfect solution, but it's paid for itself. Because of the outstanding results achieved, it's hoped that this recorded webinar will result in other sub-associations converting to use of WeatherTRAK. I'm also on the board of one of the sub-associations that comprises 252 homes. This also accounts for 3 of the 23 mentioned earlier. Because of my involvement with the master and the results, I was able to show my other board. This sub, the second, has just completed a WeatherTRAK conversion. And we're all excited about that.
So, thank you, Dr. Davidson. I think we got some questions here now from the audience that we would like to address here. We have a few more minutes left, so we'll take some of these. And if we run out of time, we will get back to everyone with the question and answer after this event as well. So the first question we have is here for Dr. Davidson. It looks like they're asking, how did your association finance this project? Was there a special assessment or any increase in dues for homeowners?
No, prior to starting the project, ValleyCrest did a savings estimate for us based on the trial that we ran in that short period of time. We concluded that there was going to be a solid payback on our investment, and I said to the board it would be 3 years for a return on investment. But that pilot study gave the board the necessary backing to proceed with it as a priority project using existing reserve funds. Additionally, ValleyCrest helped us work with our local water agency to get the rebates, and that amounted to at least 30, I think it was closer to 40% of the project. After reviewing the water savings, the project actually paid for itself, I think it was less than 18 months. So we felt very good about our investment, and we've been able to do, because of this, we've been able to do quite a bit of landscape enhancement work.
Great. That's actually leads into another question we have here. It says, what other changes or improvements did Seven Hills make to improve their overall irrigation efficiency? Richard, maybe you can discuss this from the ValleyCrest side and other things that you introduced to the community there for added efficiency.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We really did focus the primary efforts on the smart controllers, but we did do a couple of other changes there that I think were significant to water savings. One, Seven Hills has a lot of narrow turf areas that were being irrigated with regular spray heads, maybe halves and quarters, that were trying to cover, that were covering a bigger area than the turf was actually covering. So as a result, there's a lot of runoff. So we've used a lot of side strip spray nozzles to eliminate that runoff, and also by using the side strips, we're able to get better coverage, and as a result, cap off a couple of the sprinklers to help reduce some of the water that was being used. We also, and prior to us coming in, Seven Hills went through a pretty sizable turf reduction. We continued that with about another acre of turf conversions in there, and that also contributed to some of the water savings. But I would say those were small percentage contributors to compared to what the smart controllers actually did.
To carry on this story on the side sprays a little further, I took an area that's relatively flat, where there were 45 heads on one side of the street and 45 heads on the other side of the street. We converted one side to the side sprays and turned both valves on at the same time and just looked to see what would happen. First of all, we were able to reduce that 45 to 15, and after the two valves were turned on simultaneously, within 4 minutes on the 45 old spray heads side of the street, within 4 minutes water was running down the curb and there was puddling, whereas in the same length of time where I used these side sprays, there was a dusting of water a very, very short distance on the sidewalk or asphalt, and almost did not occur. So I was very impressed with that. And I think it'll decrease our water usage by probably another third.
Great. That's good information. There's obviously a lot of complementary products. I know that in our workings with other manufacturers, there's a lot of innovation happening in the landscape industry that all associations and our contractor partners are aware of, that they should start to look at and take advantage of. So that's good extra information there.
It's really hard to imagine a spray head spraying water in a rectangle, but it does occur.
Right. So we've got one more question here. We've got time for. Take this one. It says, what role do association management companies typically play in the process? And I'm assuming you mean the entire planning and retrofit process. So I'll take a swing at this one. I think the management companies can play many different roles. And I think probably the primary one is to, first help evaluate if a water cost reduction project, is or should be a top priority based upon current expenses at the community. And I think that should be obviously fairly evident when looking at operating expenses and other priority projects that are being considered. I think the community managers, need to know that there are easy to implement solutions and should work closely with their landscape maintenance companies to understand what those are and how they can address, some of the cost reduction projects that, may be those top priorities. I think also the other role that the management companies can play is in facilitating, presentations and education to their boards, either through their own education that they can pass on, or bringing in vendors such as their landscape contractors or technology companies such as Hydropoint to do simple education on how these technologies are practical for their specific community, because every community is a little different and not one size fits all. So I think that that education and facilitation is another real value that the property management company can play. And then I think lastly is helping to provide a true analysis of what a real return on investment, can be for the company, for the property. And I think the property management company, again, can do that through some of their own tools or by leaning on a partnership, with the maintenance contractors or technology partners who provide this as a service for many properties. So I think that management company is a great quarterback to the process, and their role is really to bring in all the assets that can look at the analysis to figure out, is this a top priority project for the community, and how does it fit for this community to make sense? I think that is about all the time we have here now. We're right up against our window. There are a couple more questions that we will get back to you all in email. So I appreciate the time everyone has spent with us today. I hope that we're able to provide, a little bit of education and information that will help you with your water management programs moving forward. Please feel free to contact us. You have our contact information here. Take a look at the website. If you have others in your organization that you want to pass this on to, a link will be available on the Hydropoint website, and you'll have information about how to access that moving forward. Thank you all once again. Thank you to the presenters as well.